Hi and welcome to SCW, the wrestling channel here on YouTube.com. Thank you for choosing the channel and choosing the video. Please subscribe right now, leave any comments in the comment section, please like and share the video as well. Today's video, we're going to be looking at the Royal Rumble 2021, 10 superstars who could win the Royal Rumble match. Going to split that in 5 and 5 for the men and the women. Actually, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to give you 11. Who looks for 11 on the search engine? I'm going to give you 6 men and 5 women who I think can win the Royal Rumble match this upcoming year. So let's start with our first contender, which is none other than Big E. Have you read the dirt sheets of late? I mean, WWE have been telling us even themselves that Big E is on a singles run and he is on a push. Even Kofi Kingston gave him his blessing to go off and say, you don't want to wait for years to have your opportunity as a world champion. It's pretty much been told to us that Big E is going to be on a major push and skyrocketed to the moon. Now, we did actually think there was a possibility that he was going to get a championship match, or certainly was in the number 1 contenders match for a fatal 4-way heading into Clash of Champions, but thankfully at that moment Sheamus took him out. Now, that's not to say that I don't want to see Big E in the title picture, I just did not want to see it happen too soon. It felt like it was too early at that point. He'd only been without the New Day for a number of weeks, but the Royal Rumble is a perfect place for him to win. But that's not to say that I wouldn't necessarily mean that Big E needs to win on his first opportunity of winning the championship. I get knocked down and I get back up again. Not only the famous words of Chumbawamba, but also is a great storytelling from a WWE's point of view. But if WWE were to play it right and want to do it for the first time, the Royal Rumble is the perfect place to give Big E that head into WrestleMania to win the championship. You could have him versus Roman Reigns, which I'm sure a lot of people would want to see. But Big E himself would then be beating 29 other superstars, would be feeling like a big moment, just like when Drew McIntyre won the Royal Rumble this year. It would feel like his time and his moment, and would be the perfect length of time of building him between now and the Royal Rumble to win it. So the first one is Big E. Next on the list is none other than Keith Lee. Now, apparently, again, according to the dirt sheets, they don't know what to do with Keith Lee. I do. Make him win the Royal Rumble. Honestly, it makes so much sense. Keith Lee can do everything. Literally, he can go with the power game. He can do technical style. He can do high flying like the cruiserweights. Keith Lee has it all. In fact, he's not just got the ability to be a champion in WWE. He's got the ability to be the damn face of the company. He could make Vince McMahon so much money. Keith Lee is the guy, and he's been already flirting around the championship picture. He's been in matches with Drew McIntyre. He's already beaten Randy Orton. Why wouldn't you put Keith Lee in that top bracket, the Royal Rumble? Now, some may say it's too soon. He's only been on the main roster for, at the time of recording, a few weeks. Well, you look at the likes of Brock Lesnar. He won the championship when he came in 2002 within 4 or 5 months. So why couldn't Keith Lee come in, win the Royal Rumble, and then win the championship at WrestleMania? For me, it makes a lot of sense to have Keith Lee as the guy, potentially as the winner of the Royal Rumble. Next, we're going to look at Brock Lesnar. Just when you think he's out, they pull him back in. And what a way to annoy everybody in the wrestling community, then have Brock Lesnar return and win the Royal Rumble. It's not like he's not used to winning matches that he's not in to begin with. Do you remember the Money in the Bank last year? Brock Lesnar could be that guy. He's been rumoured to have a match with WWE once again against Drew McIntyre, potentially at next year's WrestleMania, WrestleMania 37. That would be a potential destination that Brock could come in. Remember, Brock Lesnar was a big part of this year's Royal Rumble. He came in at number 1, expecting he was going to go through the field, went out to Drew McIntyre. What if he was a surprise entrant in this upcoming Royal Rumble, was to actually eliminate everybody and go on to face for the championship at WrestleMania? Not something I would rule out. Brock Lesnar could just be someone that could come back around that time. Say fans can come back at that point as well. WWE want fans back. It would then make sense to bring Brock Lesnar back in, because at the moment during the pandemic, empty arenas or even the Amway Centre, it doesn't make financial sense to use Brock at this particular stage. But when fans can come back, say it's around the Royal Rumble, say you could get him back in at WrestleMania, for example, which would be then the real big payday, I think then it starts to make more sense that Brock would come in for these big events. So I can see this one as a potential that could happen, despite the fact fans probably not wanting it to happen at any point in the future. Next, let's look at another potential superstar that could return is Edge. That's right, why not pick Edge to win the Royal Rumble next year? Would be a fun bet, because if Edge is returning from injury, there has been rumours that he could be going for the championship against Randy Orton at WrestleMania next year. Now, if that is the case, then Edge coming back at the Royal Rumble as the opportunist that Edge once was. Remember, Edge said he had to do things differently when he come back. What if he was perhaps a bit more, let's say, back to his old ways, that opportunist that Edge always was? And the Royal Rumble is a perfect place to do it, to come back into the number 28, number 29, surprise everybody 2 years in a row, might I add, with the surprise factor as well, but this time to go on and win it. I think that it would be a safe way to bring Edge back as well, because Edge doesn't need a Royal Rumble win to get a championship match, but if you look between the Rumble and Mania, your next best place to do it is the Elimination Chamber. Not a safe structure, not the sort of environment you want to put Edge in when he's been out for so many years. The Royal Rumble is a much safer path to put him on that route to WrestleMania for a championship match. Number 5, Drew McIntyre. Well, he's WWE Champion as of time of recording, but there's always an opportunity that he could lose that belt between now and the Royal Rumble. Drew McIntyre has had a great 2020. He has been booked like the top babyface. He's been booked like a megastar, a great champion. The problem for Drew, he's had to do it in front of no fans, even winning the championship in front of nobody. You have to feel sorry for Drew McIntyre. But how long has it been since we've seen the same superstar, your top babyface, win the Royal Rumble 2 years in a row? You have to go back to the likes of Shawn Michaels and Stone Cold Steve Austin. In Drew McIntyre's terms, this could make logical sense. If we're going to start getting fans back in as we head towards WrestleMania 37, Drew McIntyre dropping the WWE Championship to win the Royal Rumble again would make perfect sense, because it would solidify Drew McIntyre as a top guy, as a guy that could hold the championship at any moment, and it wouldn't be misplaced. You wouldn't think, what is he doing here in the main event? Drew McIntyre would be a name that would be here to stay as a permanent main eventer in WWE. I would be a massive fan of seeing this idea play out for next year at this stage. And cheating then for the men's spot on number 6 is Karrion Kross. Karrion Kross has already been pictured in the gym. He's only let the belt go a few weeks. Maybe the injury is not as bad as expected, and what's to say Karrion Kross is to return back to NXT? He could easily go to Raw or SmackDown. He could even be a part of the NXT roster at that point and then choose to go for a different champion. Karrion Kross has got the look, and for those that have only just seen a small taste of what he can deliver in NXT, then you guys need to know he's got much more to offer. He's got Scarlett in his corner as well. This looks like a money duo. It looks like a main event pairing with these two. I think that Karrion Kross is destined to go for the top. Now, we could go back to NXT. Why wouldn't he if they want him back there? But Raw and SmackDown could be the destination. I can see him as a main event champion, a heel side for Raw or SmackDown, carrying the gold for a long, long time. I think he could be your face of the company from a heel perspective. This guy has got great promo skills. He's great in the ring. He looks dominant. He looks menacing. He looks scary. And I think that he looks like someone that just could be a main event player. So for me, Karrion Kross is that cheating spot to put him in at number 6. Let's go through the 5 women then that could actually win the Royal Rumble. And I'm going to cheat on the first one because technically I'm going to give 6 for the women as well. The first one is Sasha Banks. Now, Sasha Banks, of course, has been attacked by Bayley as of time of recording twice on TV and hasn't returned as of yet. It would be beautiful if WWE could really drag this out and not have the match happen at Hell in a Cell. Wouldn't it be great if Sasha Banks was ruled out of TV for a number of months to make the return at the Royal Rumble, with Bayley doing promos, building up to there, saying how she's taken Sasha out, reminding us at every given opportunity that she was the one that ended Sasha Banks. For Sasha to return at the Royal Rumble, get that big win, and then the big money match against Bayley at WrestleMania. It would be such a long-term story match that you've had there over a year, probably even longer with these two, that it would feel like a main event, and you could even start arguing that you could do that with these two again. Think of Sasha Banks as a babyface as well. She has the potential, the popularity to beat the level of Becky Lynch. Now, I'm not just saying like, oh, in the ring or anything like that. I'm talking about your #1 merchandise seller in the entire company. We're talking mega stardom. That level Sasha Banks is not at yet. She could get there, and she could easily be there if she's booked correctly. And I think the slow process has worked so well for this storyline. I think they should drag it out. But of course, this is where I'm going to cheat and throw another name in there quickly. So it's now basically 6 for the women as well. Bayley would be a strong candidate as well, because if she drops the championship, it would make sense for her to come in, have that Royal Rumble win. It's sort of one of the only things left for Bayley left to do in WWE. She's won every championship. She's the Grand Slam champion. The Royal Rumble is the only thing that escapes her at this point, and you could easily see her winning it if the belt was to change hands and be in Sasha's hands, and you could say that even Bayley at that point would want the revenge. It doesn't necessarily have to be a one and done with these two. This feud could literally not go on forever, but certainly could go on all the way to WrestleMania. Next, we're going to look at everybody's favourite, sarcasm there, Charlotte Flair. Now, Charlotte Flair is due to return at some point in the future. The Royal Rumble feels like, well, a healthy prediction to make her comeback, because if Charlotte Flair was to come back, arguably she would probably win it, and she would then be heading to WrestleMania for a championship match of her choosing, whether it be on Raw or SmackDown, or even to go back for NXT once again. Charlotte Flair then would win the Royal Rumble 2 years in a row, so I wouldn't necessarily be the biggest fan of this idea. She won it last year, she doesn't need to win it this year, but certainly is someone that we cannot ignore. Charlotte Flair will return at some stage in the near future. Royal Rumble would feel like a place that she would potentially do it, because WrestleMania, like I say, is the biggest event of the year. You start building your storylines for that point towards the biggest event of the year. It's a great race to bring Charlotte Flair back in. Next, let's look at Io Shirai. Now, let me just say a match, and I'm going to pause for a minute, just let it sink in. Asuka versus Io Shirai. I say no more. Literally, this would be a dream match, and it could happen if Io was to come in and win the Royal Rumble. Now, she's currently the NXT Women's Champion. She may not be at the time the event happens. She just is at the time of recording, and there's still a couple of takeovers between now and then. Could you imagine that match? I would love to see it, and there will be a year that an NXT superstar wins the Royal Rumble. I wouldn't be surprised if they did it here for the women first, because Io Shirai would be a great shout, and it would be a great path to put her on the main roster. Another one that could put on the main roster as well is Rhea Ripley. Now, it speaks for itself. Rhea Ripley is the future. Rhea Ripley has every tool in her arsenal to be the face of the women's division for the company for many years to come. She's got age on her side, she's got the ring ability, she's had experience of being in the Royal Rumble and being at a WrestleMania as well. Rhea Ripley has everything going in her favour, and she could be the next superstar. She could be someone that could come back and win the Royal Rumble, and perhaps someone like Charlotte Flair, who's come back and won the championship, she could then go for the Raw Women's Championship against Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania and get her revenge and get that win back, and also win the belt as well. It would make a lot of sense. It would be a start-making performance. It would be looking towards the future as well with Rhea Ripley, rather than having the tried and tested. Same with Io Shirai in the mention before as well. I think that these are two strong candidates for the women's division for years to come, and I wouldn't be surprised to see either win the Royal Rumble. Let's go with one last name, and this is the surprise factor, Ronda Rousey. Now, of course, she has been training with Roddy Piper's daughter. She's even put a tweet out saying that she looks forward to wrestling Natalya one day, doing a throwback on her Twitter account. I wouldn't be surprised if we're not done with Ronda Rousey. Now, apparently she's still under contract to WWE to come back if fans are going to be around to really get eyes on the prize. Now, don't just think about the wrestling bubble, think outside of it. The casual world is interested in what Ronda Rousey does. She could easily be someone that could come in, win the Royal Rumble, and be a big deal at WrestleMania. There's still matches there for her to do that we have not seen. Ronda Rousey versus Asuka, who's been built so well over this last sort of 6 to 7 months. You've got a return match one day with Becky Lynch. I'm sure that's not in the short-term future. Charlotte Flair would be another match we'd want to see. There's even like the likes there we said of Rhea Ripley, Io Shirai. There's lots of star names that we could see there against Ronda Rousey. She would bring star power back to WWE. So she would be my last choice as a potential of someone who could win the Royal Rumble next year. And remember, she hasn't done that at this point. And if she was to come in, she would almost be like, as we said with Brock earlier, coming in at a late number, destroying everyone, throwing everyone out, and it would have the wrestling world, in fact, the entire world, talking. So that's my names there, selecting of who I think could be winners for the Royal Rumble 2021. Let me know your predictions of what you think, who could be, who it might be, who's the best of those candidates to win their respective Royal Rumble matches. Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to know your thoughts and feelings in this. Make sure to check out other videos on the channel, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications when new videos come out as well. And yeah, make sure to stick around here on SCW. Thank you for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you. Take care.